Alrighty folks, welcome to my college football free pick video here today for week 3. My name is Brock Page. I've been dishing out free sports picks on YouTube since 2016. If you want to see which one of these free plays on this video that I actually like the best, I've got 3 more college football tier membership plays going off this week on my premium page. We're hitting at 64% in our last 15 plays in that package. Of course, those plays are already posted and ready for access. And with that, we're going to jump right into some free content. Buffalo, Kent State, 12 o'clock Saturday. Buffalo's minus 22, totals 48.5. And the Bulls are taking on a Kent State squad who just covered against Texas Tech. They also got a week 1 victory over Merrimack as well. Cordoba and Young, 14 tackles apiece for the Golden Flashes. Woods with 13 tackles as well. These teams' last 2 head-to-head meetings did stay under the total, like Kent State plus 22, under 48.5. Oklahoma, Temple, 12 o'clock East. Oklahoma's minus 25, totals 51, and the Sooners are facing a 2-0 Temple squad who covered the point spread in both of those victories. They actually allowed just 17 total points in those contests. And at the moment, the Owls are amongst the top of the nation in fewest total yards allowed. Secondary's done a real nice job. Cameron Stewart with 3 sacks on the season, handful of tackles. Eric Stewart leads the defense in tackles. Oklahoma games went 2-0 to the under. Give me Temple plus 25, under 51. Clemson, Georgia Tech, 12 o'clock East. Clemson's minus 4.5, totals 52. The Tigers failed to cover in both of their contests this season. Defense is allowing a significant amount of completed throws a game. And for some reason, the Tigers have gotten into some trouble with penalties on defense. They're facing a Georgia Tech team who definitely runs it well, and they throw it well in addition to that. Jamal Haynes is averaging 6.3 yards a carry, a couple of scores for the running back. Malachi Hosley is also averaging nearly double-digit yards per touch on the ground. I like Georgia Tech plus 4.5, over 52. Central Michigan taking on the Michigan Wolverines, 12 o'clock East. The Wolverines are minus 28, totals 43. I think Michigan, I think they're poised for a solid bounce-back spot in this spot here. They're physical against the run on defense, allowing only 20 points a game. Ernest Hausman leading the defense in tackles. Hillman with an interception and a dozen tackles himself. They're facing a Central Michigan team who's having a tough time getting on the scoreboard, averaging only 16 points a game. I like the Wolverines, minus 28, under 43. Wisconsin, Bama, 12 o'clock East. Alabama's minus 21, totals 47. And even though Bama routed UL Monroe, well, they really did not look crisp against Florida State in their opener. They scored only 17 points against the Seminoles. Lots of mistakes for the Crimson Tide. Very uninspired in that opening game. And they're facing a Wisconsin defense who's allowed just 10 points on the season. Very tough against the run. At the moment, the Badgers do have a top 5 rushing defense. Allegro with 11 tackles and a sack. Curtis with double-digit tackles himself. I like Wisconsin plus 21, under 47. All right, Memphis, Troy, 12 o'clock East. Memphis is minus 4, totals 50.5. The Tigers are 2-0 on this season, covered the number in both of those victories. And at the moment, this Tiger defense is allowing only 13 points a game, doing a nice job of slowing down the run. And they're allowing just 83 yards a game on the ground. Brumfield, 13 tackles, pair of sacks. Russaw, Whitlow, and Bracey with 11 tackles apiece. They're facing a Troy squad who really does not air it out, averaging just 183 yards a game through the air. When it comes to the total, Memphis saw unders in both of their contests this year. Give me Memphis minus 4, under 50.5. Oregon, Northwestern, 12 o'clock East. Oregon's minus 27, totals 51. The Ducks are 2-0 to start this season. Defense allows just 8 points a game. Betcher with a dozen tackles on the year. Woodyard with a pick 6 and 9 tackles himself. Oregon with overs in both of their victories. Could very well put this one over the total themselves. I like Oregon minus 27 over 51. All right, next matchup. South Alabama taking on Auburn. 12:45 East. Auburn's minus 26. Totals 53.5. Tigers failed to cover against Ball State last week. South Alabama with a nice cover against Tulane. And at the moment, the Jags have done a nice job moving the football, averaging 35 points a game, running for nearly 200 yards per contest. Kentrell Bullock with 234 yards on the ground, averaging 5 yards a carry. And wide receiver Devin Voisin, 15 grabs, 221 yards, 3 scores. Jags with the overs in both of their games this season. I like South Alabama plus 26 over 53.5. UConn, Delaware, 3 o'clock East. UConn's minus 9.5, totals 52. The Huskies are airing it out for over 300 yards a game, doing a nice job passing. They also covered against Syracuse and Central Connecticut. Joe Fignano with 519 yards passing, no interceptions. Skylar Bell, 15 grabs for 240 yards. They're facing a Delaware squad who's definitely had their struggles on defense. They're allowing over 165 yards a game on the ground. UConn, minus 9.5, over 52. All right, Oregon State, Texas Tech, 3:30 Eastern start. Texas Tech is minus 23, total 60. Red Raiders 2-0 on the year, scored a lot of points in those victories. Tech's currently in the top 3 in the country in points per game, averaging 8.7 yards per play. Baron Morton completing 74% of his throws, 7 touchdowns, no picks or sacks. And on the ground, Adam Hill's averaging over 100 yards a game, 8.9 yards per carry. They're facing an 0-2 Oregon State program who's forgotten how to play defense. The Beavs are allowing 35 points a game, failed to cover against Cal and Fresno State. Of course, both of those losses did go over the total. Texas Tech with overs in both of those victories as well. Plenty of overs between both schools. I like Texas Tech minus 23 over 60. Next game, USC taking on Purdue. That'll be a 3:30 Eastern kickoff. USC's minus 21.5, totals 59. Conference game on the road here for the Trojans. Not particularly an electric place to play at West Lafayette. And they're taking on a 2-0 Purdue team who's definitely played some pretty tough defense. The Boilermakers allowed just 8 points a game, 144 yards passing. Taj Ra'el leading the program in tackles. Nunali the 4th with a pair of sacks. Relentless on the pass rush. Both of Purdue's contests this season stayed under the total. I like Purdue plus 21.5, under 59. Washington State taking on North Texas, 3:30 East. North Texas is minus 4.5, totals 59. Mean Green's 2-0 on the year, insanely tough against the pass. The Mean Green's allowing just 87 yards a game through the air, 3.3 yards per play from scrimmage. Trey Fields with 15 tackles and a pick. Shane Witter leading the program in tackles. And they're facing a Wazoo team who really has not run the football well. Bottom 10 rushing offense. I like North Texas minus 4.5, under 59. SMU, Missouri State, 3:30 East. SMU's minus 27, total 61. Mustangs are averaging 44 points a game. They threw the ball quite well in their 2 contests. Kevin Jennings completing over 73% of his throws, 555 yards, and a handful of scores. Favorite target's been Romello Brinson, 11 catches, 247, 3 touchdowns. I like SMU minus 27, over 61. Georgia, Tennessee, 3:30 East. Georgia's 3.5, totals 50 and a hook. Both schools are 2-0 on the year. Both offenses having little problems moving the football. The Bulldogs are running for 250 yards a game. Tennessee's averaging nearly 60 points per contest. Both of Tennessee's games got over the total. I like the over 50.5. Pitt, West Virginia, 3:30 Eastern start. Pitt's -6, totals 58. The 2-0 Panthers are allowing just 13 points per contest, doing a great job against the run. The Panthers are limiting opposing teams to just 38 yards a game on the ground. Rasheem Biles leads the D in tackles. Kyle Lewis with a pair of sacks and 11 tackles on the season. They're taking on a West Virginia offense who, they're rarely on the field. The Mountaineers are in the bottom 10 in offensive time of possession. Fair share of 3 and outs. The Mountaineers are coming fresh off an outright loss to the Ohio Bobcats. Not Ohio State, Ohio. The MAC school, Ohio. And the Mountaineers were held to just 10 total points in that loss. Now, no real surprise. The Mountaineers saw both of their games this season stay under the total. I like Pitt -6, under 58. Next game, Iowa State taking on Arkansas State, 4 o'clock East. ISU's -20.5, totals 55. And it looks like the Cyclones picked up where they left off last season. It's a 3-0 start for Iowa State. Very sound on the offensive side of the football. Iowa does a nice job protecting the football, doesn't commit a ton of penalties. Quarterback Rocco Becht is completing nearly 70% of his throws, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. And tight end Ben Brahmer has 13 grabs along with 3 touchdowns. They're facing an Arkansas State team who's definitely struggled on the defensive side of the football. The Red Wolves are allowing 40 points a game, bottom 10 in yards allowed per play. Arkansas State saw both of their contests this year get over the total. I like Iowa State -20.5, over 55. Louisiana, Missouri, 4 o'clock East. Mizzou's -26.5, totals 49. The Tigers are 2-0 to start the year, averaging 52 points per contest. When it comes to throwing the football, well, not many teams have done it better. It's all thanks to Bo Pribula, completing over 79% of his throws, 617 yards and 5 touchdowns. I've said for the last couple of seasons, Drew Aller was not the best quarterback on Penn State's team. That's a hot take, but Bo's the real deal. Bo is legit. And the combination of Coleman and Johnson, they already have over 400 yards between the both of them. Now, total-wise, both of the Tigers' victories this season did get over the total. I like Missouri -26.5, over 49. UTEP, Texas, 4:15 East. Texas is -42, totals 52. The Longhorns are 0-2 against the point spread, not overly crisp on the offensive side of the football. They're taking on a UTEP squad who's done a nice job stopping the run, allowing just 101 yards a game on the ground. Micah Davey, 22 tackles already for the Miners. Udoka Izani with a pair of sacks and 13 tackles himself. Total-wise, Texas has seen both of their contests stay under the number. I like UTEP +42, under 52. South Florida, Miami, 4:30 East. The Hurricanes are -18, totals 57. And the Canes did fail to cover against Bethune-Cookman last week. And they're facing a South Florida defense who's been tough to move the football against. The Bulls are allowing just 11 points a game. They're 2-0 with victories over Florida and Boise State. Of course, in both of those victories, the Bulls easily covered the point spread. Jalen Schuler leads the defense in tackles. Mac Harris with a forced fumble and 18 tackles himself. USF games have gone 2-0 to the under. Give me the South Florida Bulls +18, under 57. Liberty, Bowling Green, 5 o'clock East. Liberty's -7, totals 52. Liberty lost to Jacksonville State last weekend. Now 0-2 against the point spread this year. And they're going to take on a Bowling Green squad who's coming fresh off a nice cover against Cincinnati last week, doing a great job against the run. The Falcons allowed just 20 points a game, top 30 rushing defense. Pringle with the most tackles on the roster. Lamprin with 15 tackles himself. I like Bowling Green +7, under 52. Middle Tennessee, Nevada, 5 o'clock Eastern start, not on our big screen behind me. Nevada's minus 8.5, totals 48. And the Wolfpack's facing an 0-2 Middle Tennessee squad who's averaging just 12 points a game, has not been running the ball well. Blue Raiders are gaining just 38 yards a game on the ground, bottom 5 in yards per play. Meanwhile, for Nevada on the other side, it's Dylan LaBarbera who leads this defense in tackles and sacks. John Maldonado with a handful of tackles and a pick 6. I like Nevada minus 8.5, under 48. FIU, 6 o'clock East. Internationals minus 2, totals 58. And the FIU Panthers beat up on Bethune-Cookman in Week 1, had a nice cover against Penn State in Week 2. And they're going to face a Florida Atlantic defense who's in the bottom 30 in passing defense. Give me Florida International minus 2, over 58. All right, Western Michigan, Illinois, 7 o'clock East. Illinois minus 27, totals 50. Illinois 2-0 on the year, covers in both of those victories. The Illini is averaging 49 points a game on offense thus far. Of course, they've been dominant in time of possession. Quarterback Luke Altmaier is completing 75% of his throws, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. His favorite target's been Hank Beatty, 13 grabs for 236. They're facing an 0-2 Western Michigan squad who's having a tough time slowing down the run game. The Broncos give up over $180 a game on the ground. I like Illinois minus 27, over 50. Next matchup, Appalachian State, Southern Miss, 7 o'clock Eastern start. Appy State's minus 1, totals 54.5. The 2-0 Mountaineers are allowing just a dozen points a game. They've been a tough team to run the football against. Appy State's giving up just 37 yards a game on the ground. Colton Ferris leads the team in tackles. Thomas Davis with double-digit tackles and a pick. They're facing a Southern Miss squad who's had a tough time running the football. Just 3.3 yards per carry they're averaging. I like Appalachian State minus 1, under 54.5. All right, next game, Ohio State taking on Ohio. That'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern kickoff. OSU's minus 32, totals 52. The 2-0 Buckeyes covered in both of their victories this year. Top 25 in yards per play from scrimmage. Julian Sains completing 80% of his throws, handful of touchdowns. Meanwhile, wideouts Smith and Tate have nearly 400 yards between the both of them. I think the Buckeyes should be able to put this one over the total themselves. I like Ohio State minus 32, over 52. Next game, Arkansas, Ole Miss, 7 o'clock East. Ole Miss is minus 9, totals 61. Now, the Rebels have had a tough time slowing down the run, giving up over 180 yards a game on the ground, getting dominated in defensive time of possession. They're facing a 2-0 Arkansas team who's actually in the top 5 in points per game. Taylon Green's completing 72% of his throws, 10 touchdowns, 192 yards on the ground as well. And Mike Washington's also averaging 10.8 yards per carry for Arkansas. Now, total-wise, Ole Miss games went 2-0 to the over. I like Arkansas plus 9, over 61. Next game, Old Dominion taking on Virginia Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern start. Virginia Tech's minus 8, totals 51. And the 0-2 Huskies, well, they haven't done much well this year. They failed to cover in both of their losses, and they have all kinds of problems moving the sticks. Virginia Tech's in the bottom 25 in yards per play, averaging just 15 points per contest. And they're facing an Old Dominion squad who's 2-0 against the point spread this year, playing solid on the defensive side of the football. The Monarchs allow just 16 points a game, 147 yards a game through the air. Mario Easterly with 20 tackles, Jeremy Mack with a pair of sacks, double-digit tackles himself. I like Old Dominion plus 8, under 51. Alrighty, next game, Jacksonville State taking on Georgia Southern, 7 o'clock East. Georgia Southern's minus 4, totals 57.5. Now, Southern's 0-2 on the year, failed to cover in both of those losses. When it comes to defensive play, the Golden Eagles have been horrifying. They're allowing 51 points per contest. They're facing a Jacksonville State team who's 2-0 against the point spread, covers against Liberty and UCF. And I'll tell you, this is a program who likes to run the football. Cam Cook with 270 yards on the ground and 2 scores, averaging 5.9 yards a carry. No real surprise, both Georgia Southern games this year did get over the total. I like Jacksonville State +4, over 57.5. All right, next matchup, Florida, LSU, 7:30 East. LSU's -9.5, totals 49. The 2-0 Tigers have allowed just 17 total points this season. They've been a tough team to move the football against. Tigers allowed just 44 yards a game on the ground, top 3 in the country in defensive time of possession, lots of 4-and-outs, lots of punts. Wes Weeks leads the defense in tackles, Cooley and Keys with 18 tackles between the both of them. They're facing a Florida team who's coming fresh off an embarrassing loss to South Florida. They were 18-point favorites and actually scored just 16 points in the outright loss. Now, total-wise, both schools are 2-0 to the under, respectively. Plenty of unders between both teams. I like LSU -9.5, under 49. Eastern Michigan, Kentucky, 7:30 East. Kentucky's -24, totals 46. Now, Kentucky got a Week 1 win against Toledo, covered last week against Ole Miss. And on the offensive side, it's a Wildcats team who definitely likes to run the football. They're rushing for nearly 200 yards a game on the ground. Dowdell and McGowan with over 350 yards between the both of them. They're facing an Eastern Michigan defense who's been terrible against the run. They've got a bottom 3 rushing defense, allowing over 310 yards a game on the ground. And no real surprise, the Eagles are giving up nearly 8.1 yards per play from scrimmage. I like Kentucky -24, over 46. All right, New Mexico State taking on Louisiana Tech. That'll be a 7:30 Eastern start. Louisiana Tech's -10.5, totals 43. La Tech's been pretty anemic on offense through a couple of games. Bottom 10 in passing, just 3.9 yards per play. And they're facing an Aggie defense who's definitely been tough to move the football against. New Mexico State's allowing only 8 points a game. Tyler Martinez, team leader in tackles. Thompson with a pair of sacks and 13 tackles himself. Both schools are 2-0 to the under, respectively. I like New Mexico State +10.5, under 43. UMass, Iowa, 7:30 Eastern start. Iowa's -35, totals 44, and this is a pretty huge number for a Hawkeye offense who throws for just 65 yards a game. Iowa's currently in the bottom 10 in yards per play from scrimmage, and they're facing a UMass team who's led by Darian Craig, who's got 17 tackles on the year. Tyler Martin with a pick 6 and 15 tackles himself. Of course, no real surprise, the Hawkeyes saw both of their games this year fall under the total. I like UMass +35, under 44. East Carolina, Coastal Carolina, 7:30 East. ECU's -7, totals 57. The Pirates are 2-0 against the point spread this year. Had a nice cover in their opener against NC State. That was a close 1-score game. When it comes to defensive play, the Pirates are allowing just 13 points a game. They actually find themselves in the top 15 in rushing defense. Jamarlee Riddle, team leader in tackles. Reason and Wilson, 16 tackles between the both of them. They're facing a Coastal Carolina team who failed to cover in both of their contests. Scored only 20 total points in those games combined. At the moment, the Chanticleers are in the bottom 15 in yards per play, bottom 10 in yards per pass. I like East Carolina -7, under 57. Texas A&M, Notre Dame, 7:30 Eastern kickoff. Notre Dame's -7.5, totals 49. Notre Dame's 0-1 on the year, facing a 2-0 Texas A&M squad who's been putting up a whole lot of points. The Aggies are averaging 43 points a game, throwing for over 300 yards. Marcel Reed's thrown for 7 touchdowns and no interceptions. Mario Craver with 13 catches, 236 yards, and 3 scores. Now, the Aggies with overs in both of their games this year. Notre Dame's lone contest went over the total themselves. I like Texas A&M plus 7.5, over 49. All right, next matchup, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, 7:45 East. South Carolina's minus 5.5, totals 47. Now, the 2-0 Gamecocks are allowing just 10 points a game. They've been very tough against the run. South Carolina's giving up just 88 yards a game on the ground. And Dylan Stewart with a dozen tackles, pair of sacks. Fred Johnson, team leader in tackles himself. They're facing a Vandy team who've, they've beaten up on Vandy for years. The Commodores have not beat the Gamecocks in a real long time. Failed to cover the point spread in 9 out of their last 10 gatherings as well. I like South Carolina minus 5.5, under 47. Duke, Tulane, 8 o'clock East. Tulane's -1, totals 54. The Green Waves 2-0 on the year. Nice job running the football. They're actually rushing for 255 yards a game. Top 25 in time of possession. Gordon and Mobley have over 200 yards between the both of them. Quarterback Jake Retzloff is averaging 7.7 yards a carry from that quarterback spot. Meanwhile, Duke failed to cover in both of their games this season, allowed 45 points to Illinois just last week. Duke saw overs in both of their contests this year. I like Tulane -1, over 54. Utah, Wyoming, 8 o'clock East. Utah's -23, totals 49. The Utes are 2-0 on the year, allowing just 9 points per contest. Utah is currently limiting opposing teams to just 147 yards a game through the air. Also has a top 20 rushing defense. Jackson Benny with double-digit tackles and a pick 6. Barton and Johnson with 15 tackles between the both of them. When it comes to the total, Wyoming games went 2-0 to the under. I like Utah -23, under 49. All right, Navy, Tulsa, 8 o'clock East. Navy's -14.5. Total is 55. The midshipmen failed to cover against UAB last week, facing a tough Tulsa team who's actually allowing just 14 points per game on defense. When it comes to stopping the run, the Golden Hurricane, well, they're giving up just 79 yards a game on the ground. Ray Coney, 22 tackles on the year. Turner and Burnett, 6.5 sacks between the both of them. Excellent pass rush. Tulsa's 2-0 to the under. I like Tulsa plus 14.5, under 55. Akron, Alabama, Birmingham, 8:30 Eastern start. UAB's -11, totals 55. The Blazers are taking on an Akron squad who's yet to score a point this season. 10-0 loss to Wyoming. 68-0 loss to Nebraska. The Zips are averaging just 3.2 yards per play from scrimmage. I like UAB -11, under 55. Air Force, Utah State, 9:45 East. Air Force is -4.5, totals 51. Now, Utah State is 2-0 against the number this year. Covers against Texas A&M and UTEP. Noah Avinger with 17 tackles and a pick. John Miller with 3 sacks and 17 tackles himself. I like Utah State plus 4.5, under 51. Minnesota, Cal, 10:30 East. Minnesota's -3, totals 44. And the Gophers are going to have a tough test in this Cal defense. The Golden Bears are allowing just 9 points a game. Top 15 rushing defense. Luke Farrelly, team leader in tackles. Ulave and Crosby, 30 tackles between the both of them. I like Cal +3, under 44. Boston College, Stanford, 10:30 East. BC's -11, totals 45. The Eagles are 2-0 against the number this year. They've got one heck of a pass rush. BC's in the top 15 in sacks. Thornton, team leader in tackles. Davis and Price, 23 tackles between the both of them. They're facing an 0-2 Stanford squad who failed to cover in both of those losses. All kinds of issues moving the chains. Stanford's in the bottom 5 in yards per play. Just 11 points a game they're averaging. I like Boston College minus 11, under 45. Next and final breakdown, Texas State, Arizona State, 10:30 Eastern start. Arizona State's minus 15, totals 57. Now, the Sun Devils are 0-2 against the point spread to start the year. Pretty big number to lay for a team who hasn't covered yet. When it comes to pass defense, well, the Sun Devils are in the bottom 25 in yards allowed through the air. And they're facing a Texas State squad who's got little issues getting first downs. They're averaging 48 points a game, and they're averaging over 8 yards per play from scrimmage. Lincoln Pear has rushed for 238 yards, 7.2 yards per carry. Meanwhile, wide receiver Bo Sparks has a dozen grabs for 237 and 5 touchdowns. Texas State games went 2-0 to the over this year. I like the Bobcats, plus 15, over 57. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. I like the under 54 in that NC State-Wake Forest matchup. Houston minus 4, under 45. We're hitting at 64% our last 15 college football tier membership plays on my premium page. Arizona minus 1, under 55. New Mexico plus 17, over 54. Kent State Golden Flashes plus 22, under 48.5. Temple plus 25, under 51. Georgia Tech plus 4.5, over 52. Michigan Wolverines minus 28, under 43. Wisconsin plus 21, under 47. Memphis minus 4, under 50.5. Oregon Ducks minus 27, over 51. South Alabama Jaguars plus 26, over 53.5. UConn minus 9.5, over 52. Texas Tech Red Raiders minus 23, over 60. Purdue plus 21.5, under 59. North Texas Mean Green minus 4.5, under 59. SMU minus 27, over 61. I like the over 50.5 in that Georgia-Tennessee matchup. Pitt Panthers minus 6, under 58. Iowa State Cyclones minus 20.5, over 55. Missouri Tigers minus 26.5, over 49. UTEP plus 42, under 52. South Florida Bulls plus 18, under 57. Bowling Green plus 7, under 52. Nevada Wolfpack minus 8.5, under 48. Florida International Panthers minus 2, over 58. Illinois Fighting Illini minus 27, over 50. Appalachian State minus 1, under 54.5. Ohio State Buckeyes minus 32, over 52. Arkansas Razorbacks plus 9, over 61. Old Dominion plus 8, under 51. Jacksonville State plus 4, over 57.5. LSU minus 9.5, under 49. Kentucky Wildcats minus 24, over 46. New Mexico State Aggies plus 10.5, under 43. UMass plus 35, under 44. East Carolina Pirates minus 7, under 57. Texas A&M Aggies plus 7.5, over 49. South Carolina Gamecocks minus 5.5, under 47. Tulane minus 1, over 54. Utah Running Utes minus 23, under 49. Tulsa plus 14.5, under 55. UAB minus 11, under 55. Utah State Aggies plus 4.5, under 51. Cal Golden Bears plus 3, under 44. Boston College minus 11, under 45. Give me the Texas State Bobcats plus 15, over 57. And with that, folks, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my premium page. And just a friendly reminder, if you do end up signing up for a membership, you're going to get access to that membership every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships during that time frame, absolutely free. Going to be included with your membership. That's why I always tell folks that Gold Club package, it's a full access, all-inclusive membership. Gives you access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. But most importantly, folks, got to thank you for joining me right here on the free video. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, folks, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my premium page.